Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Sai SATCHARITRA, an Insight. Episode 151. My humble prostrations at the lotus feet of our Sadguru Sai. By the divine grace of Sai, an attempt has been made to translate the gist of the divine discourse of Sri Ramanathan brother telecasted in Sai TV. This is purely done to share the glory of Sai and his divine teachings with more insight to the aspirants. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnuhu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Devotees, in the previous episode, we listened to few leelas of Sri Sai experienced by Gigi Narke, and now let's continue to heed few more. Gigi Narke was a very learned person, also was the son-in-law of the millionaire Shriman Booty, but he had trouble finding a suitable job as he seemed to be overqualified for many jobs. Almost for 13 months, Narke was without a job. He was greatly distressed as he couldn't support his family with his own earnings. He was staying in Shirdi and his days were filled with sorrow. He almost got dejected with life. Sri Sai Baba would at times give out the kafni that he had been wearing to other devotees or fakirs. Sometimes he also distributed the new ones. When kafni was given to a person by Sri Sai Maharaj, that was an indication to the devotee that he is ready to renunciate his life. Gigi Narke even felt that it would be better if Sri Sai would give out a kafni to him, and so he need not lead the family life anymore and take to sannyasa. At one circumstance, many kafnis were offered by a devotee to Sri Sai Baba for the sake of distributing. Sri Sai Baba began to distribute those kafnis to several devotees. Gigi Narke was desiring to get one and was eagerly waiting for his turn. Sri Sai Maharaj suddenly stopped giving out the kafnis and stored the remaining kafnis in the almirah over there. Gigi Narke was greatly disappointed, though he never revealed his feelings. Nothing is clogged at the eyes of Sri Sai Baba. Sri Sai Maharaj gestured his hand, called Narke close to him, and slowly stroking his head with his hands said, "This fakir has not permitted me to give you the kafni. Hence, you don't get upset with me." Which means, the God in the Masjid Mai has not allowed me to give you the kafni. Hence, I could not give it to you, so don't worry, were his consoling words. At various circumstances, Sri Sai Maharaj gave a clear indication to Gigi Narke that he was Sarvantaryami, as whatever was professed by him materialized word to word at a future date. Let's listen to one such instance now. During the year 1913, Sri Sai Maharaj foretold Narke that your father-in-law will construct a big mansion. You will be managing its affairs. The keys of that mansion will be under your custody. Whereas at that point of time in Shirdi, there was just one building, that was Satevada. Even Dikshitwada was not constructed then. Obviously, the Samadhi Mandir was also not constructed. So, to Narke, Sri Sai Baba was mentioning about the to-be-built Samadhi Mandir. Eventually, during the year 1915, when the Samadhi Mandir complex construction began, that's when Narke recalled the prophecy of Sri Sai Baba and marveled how every word spelled by Sri Sai Maharaj was taking shape and becoming a reality. And after the Mahasamadhi of Sri Sai Baba, when the mortal remains were placed inside the Samadhi Mandir, G.G. Narke was appointed as one of the trustee members of the Samsthan. What was to happen in the year 1920 was foretold to him in 1913 itself. Ganesh Govind Narke was spellbound by the omniscience of Sri Sai Baba. Of the many divine sport of Sri Sai Baba, I would like to quote the one related to G.G. Narke's mother. She was a staunch devotee of Sri Sai Baba and requested Sri Sainath Maharaj to get her son a suitable job that would be in the vicinity of Shirdi or close to their native place in Pune. G.G. Narke did his studies in abroad and he was an expert in mining industry, whereas there were no mines in that surrounding area. Hence, there is no possibility of getting any job opportunities closer to their hometown. Narke would every day browse through the job vacancy column in the daily newspaper and would apply for any mining or other prospective jobs, though he was highly qualified for it. And based on the job prospects, he would move from place to place. His mother was worried at this unstable situation of her son and was always anxious if he might leave her and go to a foreign country in search of a job. Hence, beseeched Sri Sai Maharaj to bless him with an opportunity in the nearby location. G.G. Narke would always chuckle at her mother's request as he thought that there is no probability of getting a job either in Shirdi or in Pune, as there are no mining industries in either of these places. Whenever Narke finds a job opportunity, he would come straight to Sri Sai Maharaj and seek his permission if he can go to that location. And if Sri Sai Baba gives his consent, then he would fill out the application form and send. For instance, say if there is a job vacancy at Calcutta, Sri Sai Baba would say, go to Calcutta and Pune. Or if the job is at Burma, he would say, go to Burma and Pune. Irrespective of the place, Sri Sai Maharaj would add the words Pune along with that. This was not perceivable by G.G. Narke. Whichever job he got was only a temporary one and not a permanent job. In the year 1918, he came to know that there was a vacancy for a geology professor in an engineering college at Pune. Immediately, he sought Sri Sai Baba's advice and Sri Sai Baba directed him to apply for it. Narke went to Pune to meet the people concerned. It was not an easy task as there were so many applicants for the job and they were backed up by high influence, whereas Narke didn't approach through any influential person. At the same time, in Shirdi, Sri Sai was playing a divine sport at Dwarakamai, asking the local devotees in a very informal tone, "Oh, where did this Narke go?" as though he didn't know about it. They said, "Baba, he has gone to Pune to try a job." Hearing which, Sri Sai Baba said, "Oh, is that so? Allah will bless him." This was the highest influence that Narke got and he was selected in the interview and got placed in the job. Thus, the prayer of Gigi Narke's mom to get her son a job in Pune or in Shirdi was fulfilled by Sri Sai Baba. Subsequently, after Narke settled down in Pune, his friends came to have darshan of Sri Sai Baba, and to them he inquired if Narke had any children. They said, Baba, Narke didn't have children because all those born would die in a short span of time. Narke was greatly concerned, but never revealed his sorrow to Sri Sai Baba. Sri Sai Baba made this casual enquiry as though he was not aware of what was happening in Narke's life. He is the Supreme Lord. Nothing is unveiled to him. Devotees might wonder, then why Sri Sai Baba raises this question? It is because he is now creating a situation for the sake of showering his grace upon Narke's family, following which Sri Sai said, Allah will bless him. Even this blessing fructified, and the children that were born after this lived a long and prosperous life. In the year 1916, he came to Shirdi from his workplace, and so he was in his office attire, which was as that of an Englishman, with a big hat, long suit, and big boots. As he wanted to go to Sri Sai Darshan, he went directly to Dwarakamai and didn't go to change his clothes. Instead, went in the same attire and was removing his boots at the doorsteps of Dwarakamai. At the same time, Vaman Rao Patel was present in Dwarakamai. He was a staunch devotee of Sri Sai Baba, penned various Sai books in Gujarati language, and at the later years he took up sannyasa and was known as Swami Sai Sharananand. In the initial years, Sri Sai Baba himself would go on begging rounds, but in the later years, the food was offered by many devotees, and those were mixed up in the kolamba and distributed as consecrated food to everyone. And during that period, Sri Sai Baba would designate one of his devotees to go on Bhiksha rounds, and Vaman Rao Patel was also one of those authorized devotees to go for begging alms. He would go to the same 5 houses where Sri Sai Baba would go every day for begging food. Every day, the close devotees of Sri Sai would go and seek Sri Sai Baba's permission if Vaman Rao Patel can be sent that day for getting the Bhiksha. In fact, when Narke was staying in Shirdi, before he got any job, he also desired to go on begging rounds and longed that he be sent at least once in his lifetime for this service. But he never got an opportunity to do that service. This day, though thrice the devotees approached Sri Sai Baba to get his approval to send Vaman Rao Patel to go to collect alms, Sri Sai Baba never gave his approval. As Sri Sai hasn't given his consent, Vaman Rao Patel was not sent, and the ritual was kept on hold. At this juncture, Gigi Narke entered the Dwarakamai, was well dressed in par to a British official, and he had earned name and fame being a highly erudite man. Immediately, Sri Sai Baba, pointing to Narke, said, "Give the begging bowl to Narke and send him for Bhiksha rounds." Just then, the devotees realized that it was not Vaman Rao Patel's chance to go on Bhiksha that day, but was Narke's turn. As soon as Sri Sai Baba gave his dictum, the next moment Gigi Narke, with no trace of ego, instantaneously obeyed the command of Sri Sai Baba, and in the same attire he went and took bhiksha from those 5 houses where Sri Sai begged his food every day. This is one of the most significant Leela experienced by Gigi Narke. Let us now heed to another astounding Leela that was experienced by him. During the year 1916, the plague was outbursting at Shirdi. There was a sweetmeat shop close to Dwarakamai, and every day the merchant would send sweetmeats as an offering to Sri Sai Baba. This would be distributed to all the devotees as consecrated food. That day, no sweetmeat was sent to Dwarakamai. So, Sri Sai called Gigi Narke and told him, "Go to the sweetmeat shop owner's home and get the halwa, as he had not sent any for today." Gigi Narke went to that home and told the wife of the sweet merchant that Sri Sai Baba had sent him to collect the halwa. The lady pointed to the corpse of her husband, who had died of plague and was mourning, told Narke that the sweets are on the almirah and he can take them from there. Gigi Narke's body was shivering out of fear, as he was worried that he might catch the infection and those who would eat the sweetmeat might also get infected. As Sri Sai Baba had ordained, he collected the sweets and came to Dwarakamai. As soon as he arrived, Sri Sai told Narke to distribute the prasadam to all those present there. Immediately the sweetmeat was given to everyone, and Narke was trembling but didn't gain courage to say anything to Sri Sai Baba. When he went nearer to Sri Sai Maharaj, Sri Sai said, "You think you will survive if you go out of Shirdi? That is not so. Whosoever is destined to die will die. Whosoever is to be struck will be struck. Whosoever is to be caressed will be caressed." These words consoled Narke and made him marvel at Sri Sai Maharaj's control over death and other elements of danger. Needless to say that none of them that ate the sweetmeat were affected by the pandemic. The above commandments of Sri Sai reflect the 3 verses in the Holy Quran. The 3rd Surah, 150th verse declares, "Allah is your protector, and He is the best of helpers." Then, 10th Surah, 56th verse reveals, "He gives life and brings death, and to Him you shall be returned." And 9th Surah, 116th verse states, "He it is who confers life and causes death. You have no protector or helper apart from Allah." Though Narke was a great scholar and was the son-in-law of Shriman Bhuti, the most affluent one, faced rough situations without any money during his stay in Shirdi, as he had no job. At that time, Sri Sai Baba asked him to give dakshana of rupees 15. Narke pleaded his inability to give money and said, "Baba, you know that I don't have any money. Then why are you asking for dakshana?" Immediately, Sri Sai Baba said, "I am well aware of your situation. But as you are reading the scripture Yoga Vasishta, give me dakshana from that reading." Gigi Narke was stunned hearing the statement of Sri Sai, because none knew about his daily reading of Yoga Vasishta, and moreover, Sri Sai pointed out to the portion of the text and that he was reading and asked him to give dakshana from that topic. which elucidates on the 15 elements of one's personality. And so, here Sri Sai refers rupees 15 to those 15 elements to be submitted at his holy feet. G.G. Narke was awestruck at the sagacity of Sri Sai Baba and realized that Sri Sai Baba was none other than the Supreme Lord. Thus, G.G. Narke experienced many divine sports of Sri Sai Baba. Once, a gentleman from Harda was suffering from tuberculosis. He came to Shirdi, stayed for a month, and showed signs of improvement. But later, his situation turned worse and he was on deathbed. One day, the family members of this person requested Narke to get some udi from Sri Sai. Narke went and asked Sri Sai for the udi, and Sri Sai Baba said, "The man would be better by quitting the earth, as the udi cannot do anything anyway. As it is asked, take and give," which means the person is sure to die and the udi will not save his life, was Sri Sai's pronouncement. But Narke didn't reveal these details of the conversation to the family members. That person eventually died, and all his relatives were very upset when Shama went and told Sri Sai Baba that the person would die any moment. Sri Sai said, "How can he die? He will come back to life by tomorrow." Hearing this, the relatives of the sick man thought that the person would not die and revive, so they waited for him to get back to life until next day noon. Since nothing happened, they did the funeral ritual and thought that Sri Sai Baba gave them false hopes and stopped coming to Shirdi for 3 years. One day, one of the deceased person's relative had a dream in which he saw Sri Sai Baba with the deceased person's head over his own and disclosed the lungs in a rotten state and said, "From the torture of all this, I saved him." From then, the relatives resumed their visit to Shirdi and then realized the purport of Sri Sai's statement that when Sri Sai said, "How can he die? He will come back to life by tomorrow," referred not to this life but the survival of human personality, which takes up new forms of life. This divine sport of Sri Sai made Narke marvel at the clairvoyance of Sri Sai. There are many mind-boggling leelas that were witnessed and experienced by G.G. Narke. We are yet to listen to the remarkable leelas experienced by Kaparde's family, and more stories about the Gita Rahasya authored by Tilak will also be discussed in the coming episodes. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Om Sai Ram.